There's a specific thing he does when he's thinking about you in a sexual way, and I promise you've noticed him doing it without even realizing what it meant. It's not a text message. It's not some polished pickup line. It shows up in the micro behaviors, the small things he does when he thinks you're not looking. Now, don't mix up sexual thoughts with real emotional connection. A man can desire you and still not be ready for you. But when he's in that headspace, fantasizing, pulled in, attracted, he'll start showing subtle instinctive signs like suddenly straightening up when you walk in or laughing a bit too hard at something you said, not because it was that funny, but because it came from you. You've likely caught him going quiet mid-conversation, almost like his mind just blanked out. That's not him being confused. That's chemistry taking over logic. When a man is thinking about you sexually, one of the most immediate unconscious things he does is redirect his attention the second you enter the space. This isn't always loud or obvious. Actually, it's usually pretty subtle, blink, and you'd miss it. Picture yourself at a party or some group hangout. Everyone's chatting, laughing, interacting. The moment you step into the room, his energy changes. It could be as quick as a double take, a pause mid-sentence, or a sudden shift in posture, like he's just remembered how he wants you to see him. His body becomes alert, as though something just snapped into focus. He's now aware in a way he wasn't a moment ago. It's not just that you're there, it's that you've changed the entire feel of the room for him. This kind of reaction is hard to fake because it skips right past conscious thought. You didn't say a word, you didn't touch him. You simply existed, and that was enough to set off a primal part of his brain. That awareness can lead to all kinds of small reactions. His feet might point in your direction, his chest might turn slightly toward you, or his eyes might flick toward you and then quickly away, like he's trying not to give himself away. It's that split-second moment where his attention snaps like a rubber band from whatever he was doing back to you. It's not love, and it's not always even personal, but it is a sign of desire. What matters more is how he behaves afterward. If that initial shift in attention turns into ongoing focus, like he keeps quietly tracking where you are in the room or who you're speaking with, chances are you've taken up more space in his thoughts than he'd like to admit. When attraction hits, men don't always move closer right away, but they do start paying closer attention. When a man is thinking about you sexually, his eyes will often give him away long before his words or actions do. One of the most common signs is subtle eye scanning. This isn't the exaggerated, obvious staring that makes people uncomfortable. It's much more nuanced, quick, instinctive glances that usually happen when he assumes you're not paying attention. His eyes will naturally drift not just to your face, but to other parts of you too, your neck, your lips, your hips. He might not even realize he's doing it because it isn't always deliberate. It's a reflex sparked by attraction and desire, similar to how we linger longer on things that catch our interest. What stands out here is how brief and scattered these looks tend to be. They aren't always long stares. Sometimes they're just flickers, quick shifts, like his eyes are trying to take in more without getting caught. This usually happens during quiet moments or transitions, like when you turn away, pick something up, laugh, or simply walk into a room. When men have sexual thoughts, the visual part of the brain becomes more active. His eyes are basically doing what his words aren't, showing attention, interest, and curiosity. And even if you feel like he's not looking straight at you, you might still sense that you're being watched. That's because this type of attention carries a certain intensity. It feels charged. His gaze holds on just a second longer than it needs to. And even if he quickly glances away once caught, that moment has already said plenty. It isn't always about staring rudely or being disrespectful. Sometimes it's actually the opposite. He might be trying hard not to look too much, which ironically makes it even more noticeable. His restraint, the careful glances, the way he pulls his eyes back to neutral spots like your eyes or hands, it all adds up to a quiet giveaway of attraction. When a man is thinking about you sexually, one of the clearest signs is how he physically adjusts himself around you. These aren't big or dramatic movements, but small, nervous shifts that reveal heightened self-awareness. The moment you walk into the room or step into his space, he becomes very conscious of how he's coming across, especially to you. You might notice him straightening his back, fixing his shirt, adjusting his collar, or running a hand through his hair. These movements aren't just about comfort. They're small grooming habits triggered by attraction and the wish to appear more appealing in your eyes. It's basically the human version of a bird puffing up its feathers. This reaction is often automatic. He may not even be aware he's doing it. These small adjustments come from a desire to look more confident, masculine, or in control. If he was relaxed before you showed up, he might suddenly become more alert, squaring his shoulders or planting his feet more firmly. If he's sitting, he might shift position, lean in slightly, or open up his posture. In evolutionary psychology, these behaviors are often tied to display instincts, non-verbal signals meant to attract a potential partner. So when he fidgets with his watch or tugs at his sleeve, it's not always just nervous fidgeting. It's his subconscious saying, "Notice me, I'm right here." Sometimes these adjustments also work as a distraction, a way to burn off nervous energy. Sexual attraction builds tension, and the body naturally looks for outlets to release it. That's why you might catch him touching his face more, cracking his knuckles, or fiddling with something nearby just to keep his hands occupied. All these small, seemingly minor gestures are part of a bigger shift in his energy, one that shows he's moved from just being present to being fully focused on you. When a man is thinking about you sexually, his behavior often shifts into what could be called testosterone spike mode. This doesn't mean he turns aggressive or inappropriate. It means his body is quietly reacting to desire by ramping up hormones that boost his urge to impress, compete, and stand out. One of the most noticeable changes is a rise in assertiveness. He might start speaking with more confidence, taking up a little more space, or becoming more decisive in how he talks and acts. Even if he's normally laid back or reserved, something about your presence triggers that instinct to show his strength, value, or leadership. This is often where competitiveness kicks in, especially if other men are nearby. He might not directly challenge anyone, but his tone gets a bit sharper, or he starts steering more of the conversation. He might laugh louder, mention an achievement, or even drop in some light bragging, not necessarily to show off, but to position himself as someone worth noticing. In small ways, he's marking his territory. Even without any obvious claim being made, this behavior isn't about arrogance. It's instinctive. Being around someone he finds sexually attractive naturally activates the part of his brain wired to pursue, protect, and prove himself. Sometimes this burst of energy shows up in a more playful way. He might start teasing you gently, challenging your opinions in a flirty tone, or stepping into your space with more confidence. His movements might become steadier, more deliberate, more purposeful. You might even catch his voice dropping slightly in pitch, a natural response that makes him sound more masculine. None of this is a conscious decision, it's instinct. His body and mind are both leaning in, preparing for the possibility of connection, attraction, and attention, and the urge to stand out from everyone else suddenly becomes very important to him. By the way, if you've ever wondered whether a man's interest is purely physical or if he's genuinely drawn to you, I'll show you how to tell in the next 60 seconds. But first, watch for this next sign. When a man is thinking about you sexually, one of the most telling signs is how his sense of humor changes, especially toward playful, flirty teasing. This isn't the kind of teasing that crosses a line or feels insulting. It's more about creating a spark, a charged interaction that lets him test the waters without being too obvious. There's a subtle tension in the way he jokes. He might playfully challenge something you said, exaggerate your words just to get a laugh out of you, or build inside jokes that only the two of you share. The teasing often carries a slightly suggestive edge, not crude, but just enough to make you wonder if there's more behind his words. This kind of flirting is a safe form of vulnerability. He can say something cheeky, and if it lands well, he knows you're open to the energy between you. If it doesn't, he can easily brush it off as just a joke. It gives him room to show interest without putting everything on the table. Often this teasing is a way to build tension without needing to be too direct. For example, he might say something like, "Oh, so you're trouble?" with a smirk or playfully accuse you of being too confident. He's creating contrast, play, and just enough push and pull to keep the conversation feeling dynamic and alive. You might notice that during these moments, he's watching you closely, your smile, your laugh, how you react. He's not just trying to make you laugh, he's checking whether you're engaging on the same level. And often it's not about the words themselves, it's the tone, the glint in his eye, the little pauses where he leaves room for you to react. His flirting turns into a game of energy and tension, where the point is less about the joke and more about how close he can get without crossing a line. It looks playful on the surface, but underneath it's a dance of attraction. When a man is thinking about you sexually, one of the more subconscious things he'll do is start mirroring your body language without even realizing it. This is a psychological effect where his body begins to subtly reflect your gestures, tone, pace, and posture. It's a kind of unconscious connection, his brain syncing with yours in an attempt to build rapport. What makes this so telling is that it isn't calculated. He's not consciously deciding to copy you. His desire draws him into your orbit, and the easiest way for his body to feel closer is to fall into rhythm with yours. If you lean in slightly, he might do the same a moment later. If you cross your legs, he might shift his stance. If you speak in a softer tone, his voice might naturally drop in response. This mirroring doesn't happen with just anyone. It tends to show up when someone is deeply tuned into another person, either emotionally or physically. In the context of sexual attraction, it becomes a subtle dance of compatibility. His body wants to move in sync with yours. It's a way of building comfort, closeness, and connection without saying a single word. You might also notice him mirroring your expressions, laughing when you laugh, nodding as you speak, or tilting his head the same way. He's not just listening, he's absorbed, tuned into your wavelength. This tends to become more obvious in private settings or quieter moments. In a one-on-one conversation, his posture starts echoing yours more and more. If you rest your chin on your hand, you might glance up a few seconds later and catch him doing the same thing. It can feel like coincidence, but it isn't. It's his subconscious trying to align itself with the person he's attracted to. And because it happens on such a subtle level, he usually won't even catch himself doing it. It's driven by the deeper part of him that craves closeness and connection with you, especially when that attraction comes wrapped in desire. When a man is thinking about you sexually, he may start showing subtle signs of jealousy, even without any official relationship. And even if he's trying to play it cool, this kind of jealousy doesn't always show up in dramatic ways. It's often disguised as curiosity, sarcasm, or indifference. One of the clearest signs is when he brings up other men around you seemingly out of nowhere. He might casually ask, "Who's that guy you were with the other day?" Or say something like, "You've got a lot of guy friends, huh?" These aren't just neutral questions. They're soft probes disguised as small talk, meant to test your connection to other men and figure out whether he's got competition. Sometimes he'll bring up other guys in a teasing tone, using humor to mask his discomfort. He might joke about you dating someone else or tease the idea of you with another man just to gauge your reaction. Other times it's more subtle. He might go quiet or change the subject when another man's name comes up. It's not that he wants to control your attention, it's that he's aware in a very instinctive way that he isn't the only person who could be on your mind. And when desire is in the mix, that awareness stings a bit. This behavior usually picks up when he feels like he isn't in control of how close you are to someone else. He might try to overcompensate by highlighting his own strengths or steering attention back to himself. He could also slip into a more competitive tone, making offhand comments about another guy's looks, job, or behavior, not necessarily out of malice, but out of a quiet urge to assert himself. It isn't always jealousy in the classic sense. It's his mind processing the idea that you're desirable and that someone else might be thinking exactly what he's thinking, just acting on it faster. When a man is thinking about you sexually, one of the clearest signs is how his focus either sharpens or fades altogether. You might catch him zoning out mid-conversation, not because he's bored, but because his mind has wandered off somewhere else, usually into a fantasy involving you. It's like a flicker in his attention, a pause in how he's processing the moment. You might ask him something and notice he's slow to respond or stumbles a little over his words. That hesitation isn't confusion. It's the result of his mind being briefly hijacked by attraction. This kind of mental drift happens because sexual desire triggers a rush of dopamine and other chemicals that affect focus and awareness. On the other hand, you might see the exact opposite happen. He becomes intensely focused. When you talk, his eyes lock onto you. He's not just hearing you, he's absorbing every word, every shift in your tone, every move you make. His phone stays untouched in his pocket. His attention doesn't drift, and there's a certain weight to his gaze. It isn't the kind of focus that comes from casual interest. It's the kind that shows his brain has tuned everything else out. In that moment, you're the most stimulating thing in the room. This kind of attention often feels charged, like there's weight behind his silence. Even when you're not speaking, he's studying you, your mouth as you talk, the way you move your hands, your eyes when you look away. This back and forth between zoning out and locking in comes from the same source, desire. Whether he drifts into his own thoughts or zeroes in on you completely, both are simply his mind reacting to arousal. The intensity of sexual interest throws off his usual rhythm. He either overcompensates by focusing too hard or briefly gets lost in the chemistry of the moment. Either way, his behavior shifts from casual to reactive, pulled by something he might not even be ready to admit yet. So here's the truth. When a man is thinking about you sexually, it doesn't always show up in bold statements or dramatic gestures. It reveals itself in the quiet moments. The shift in posture the second you walk into the room, the way his eyes scan you when he thinks you're not looking, the nervous jokes, the flirty teasing, the sudden attention, the subtle jealousy, and those intense pauses when his mind wanders somewhere it probably shouldn't in public. These aren't just signs of physical attraction, they're signs of emotional tension, curiosity, and desire, all bundled into behaviors he doesn't always control. But here's where it becomes powerful for you. Recognizing these signs isn't just about knowing that a man wants you. It's about understanding how he wants you. Is it surface level? Is it sincere? Is it fleeting? Or is it focused? Once you learn to spot these clues clearly, you'll never have to second guess his intentions again. You'll know when a man is drawn to your body and when he's captivated by your presence. Desire speaks even in silence.